when you're being with an agent, I would say the number one thing that gets an agent to fall in love with you or a manager.
Today, I am talking to the representation whisperer, Mr. Brian Patacca, and he is breaking down all the myths and he is sharing what you have to do in order to get representation. And you're going to be shocked because I was. I want to know, where have you been all my life, Brian? That's what I want to know.
I'm so glad to meet with you today. Thank you so much for having me on. I'll try to answer the question. Let's see if we can get to it.
Well, first of all, I want to talk about who Brian is, because you have such a fascinating background. I love that you bring your spirituality to what you teach, because that's what I do. And I feel like you're part of my tribe. You're my tribe guy.
I'll take it.
I want to talk about how you got into A Course in Miracles.
Well, I think that when we have great grief or sadness in our life, it's one of the times that we fall on our knees, or we say there must be something greater than myself that can take me out of this hole, or we find life becomes untenable. We need support. And that was when I found A Course in Miracles. And at the time I was very lucky because I lived in the heart of Los Angeles, and Marianne Williamson did a talk every Tuesday night at the Temple for the Arts, which is just a theater basically. And I would go and I would listen. And so, she comes from a background in A Course in Miracles as well. And so listening to her speak a few times, I was like, oh, I think I better go check out A Course in Miracles. And then I knew that I wanted to do a more serious study of it rather than just read the book. And so I sought out a reverendship, a school basically, where I participated for 3 years. It should have taken 2, full disclosure. I took my time. So I trained for 3 years in the tradition of A Course in Miracles. But for me, my spiritual background is no dogma, no doctrine, no religion, but all religions can be summed up in 2 words, which is be kind. And so that's my belief. And the Course in Miracles just for me was language that I needed. I did not grow up I wasn't raised with a religion or any kind of spiritual background other than be a good person. And so this is what I discovered later in life as a form for that spirituality to take, so that I could have understanding, because I think it's a difference between saying I'm a spiritual person and like having true tools to apply to your life, which is what A Course in Miracles, it's called a course. It says it's a required course. You can either choose to do it this way, you're going to learn it in your own life anyway. And it is called a practical handbook. That's what it says on the front cover. And so it is truly meant to have practical impact in your life. And to me, that is what I needed at the time. And so then I was like, oh, I want to be able to bring this to the creatives that I work with, because we know your life is a roller coaster, because you're successful one day, this job you don't get the next one. And how do you relate to what your purpose is beyond what the most recent booking or oldest booking is? How do you relate to it as you continue to move forward? And so to me, it was a tool that helped me in my own life, and then helped me also serve as the coach that I am.
So one of the things that I find fascinating about A Course in Miracles, because I used to sit and listen to Marianne Williamson in the 80s when she was on at the big church on Franklin. So
yes.
Franklin and Highland. So I used to go and listen to her. But one of the things that I like that A Course in Miracles says is, one problem is your separation from God, which, hallelujah, we need to be connected to the Holy Spirit every single moment of our lives, especially as creatives, because he's the big creative and we're the little creatives, and we get our fuel from him, right? And the other thing that I love about Course in Miracles is, I think this is so profound. It's not up to you what you learn. It is up to you whether you learn it in pain or in joy.
Yes. Exactly.
So
you're preaching.
I love that, because we're going to learn the lesson no matter what. So we get to choose. Are we going to be joyful about it, or are we going to be in meltdown mode? Right. So knowing that you had a spiritual background really excited me, because in watching some of your podcasts and some of your interviews, I hear God coming from you. So when I first was watching your podcast, seeing that plaque behind you, note to self, be kind, be kind, be kind. And I don't think we can say that enough in this business, that we do not
Mm-hmm.
realize that it is about loving people. You know, as artists, we are bringing medicine. So I just think if you're bringing medicine, you got to bring the love. You know, I don't care how good a doctor you are. If you're not, if you don't have bedside manners, don't touch me. When I'll say this one little thing, and then I'm gonna give it to you. But when I was pregnant, my daughter was breached, and so I went
Ah,
to this fancy doctor at Cedars. He was number one at helping turn the baby before, so
wow.
you would be able to deliver, natural and all of that. And this guy had the worst bedside manner, and it was all about him. And what they didn't tell me was the procedure he does. He literally gets on top of you and starts wrestling with the fetus to get it in
Ooh,
position. And you could go into labor at any minute. And so he was determined. He was turning the baby, and I said, "Look here, my child ain't going nowhere. So just get off me and let's go." And he was so upset because I was ruining his stats.
right.
So I say to
Oh,
you, Brian, thank you. Thank you for, because there are a lot of teachers out there. There's a lot of people out there giving actors information, but there are not a lot of people who come with love.
I appreciate you
So
saying that.
thank you. I have to say that because I like celebrating people who celebrate people. You
Oh,
know,
I like
that's
you saying
that's
that. Thank
my
you for
thing.
saying that.
So
Thank you.
I want to talk about, you started out as an actor.
Hmm.
What did you like about acting that made you want to connect with the art?
I grew up in Ohio in I went to a 2,700 person high school, and there was one black person, one Asian person, one Jewish person. We all knew who they were. So diversity was not a thing. It was all white people, and this was before Will and Grace. Everybody, we're coming off of AIDS. The height of the AIDS crisis was less than 10 years ago, probably, and so gay was not okay. And I think that it was, get made fun of every single day at school. Also, I was really smart and I was kind of cute. So girls liked me, but a lot of people weren't nice to me.
In high school, were you in touch with the fact that you were gay? Was that
No,
something that
no,
you,
no,
okay,
no. And I,
okay.
and I wasn't, the reason why, and I say that is it wasn't possible for me to be in touch with it, because if I confronted it, I would then have to go to school and, I believe, experience violence. So in my way of
Mm.
dealing with it was, I have to deny this about myself, because if I admit this about myself, I will experience violence at school. And so my enclaves of safety were with the smart kids and with the theater. And in the theater, and it wasn't just I wouldn't say that, I'm not trying to paint myself as a victim here. I was choosing to find a space where I felt safer, right? And I loved it, and I felt alive. And I think, when we find out what our calling is, it's the space, and anyone listening can think about this, whether you're an actor or not, is, time and space disappeared and you were like, I am home. And you had that experience at some life. And that experience of home, I think, changes as you get older. Because when you first experience acting, maybe you're 12 years old and acting is pretending, and then it gets to be different and different, and that storytelling, so it changes. But that moment that you know that about yourself. And that, what I think, the first that was an outlet, and then it became a space where I just felt more myself. And I think that was like the gift. I felt more myself when I was acting than anything else. And then trying to understand the craft became a different conversation of like, how do I now understand how this works? Because it isn't just pretend and move on instinct and live your life. Like, there is more to it than there's more to that craft of acting than just that. Everyone who's listening, you probably all know that already. But that became very clear to me. And then I also knew the whole time I was learning, I went to Northwestern for acting, and I knew I was going to school for acting. And I remember my mom, who is my biggest cheerleader in the world, and she
Yay,
had
mom.
yeah, mom, yes, she's visiting right now, so this is great. But the other part about it was that she said, I remember her saying to me, out of concern, not out of trying to make me dream small, she goes, I think only famous people's kids get to be actors and make their life. And of course, this was her sheltered experience in Ohio. And she was in no way saying, don't do what you want to do, which is what I could hear. And so I always had this practical, I think of it as my Midwestern work ethic of like, I also know how to produce things and get things done. And this marketing part of me that kind of woke up when I was in college. And I was also the president of like the theater club in college as well. So all these other things were kind of going on the whole time. So I had this very clear story for myself that not if acting wasn't going to work out. It was more like I'm always going to have something else for the times when acting isn't working out. I wasn't thinking about it the way that somebody might think of like their waiting tables job or like I need a plan B job. It was very much like I've got a lot of interests and I want to act on them all. So I kind of, those two things fed me a lot. So my first job out of college was at an advertising agency in New York City, and our clients were all Broadway shows. So I was in Times Square every single day going to work, working on Kiss Me Kate, Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk, the Public Theater, like Broadway shows that were opening and going to every single opening and working on the advertise. So I really was steeped in what does it mean to market art? What does it mean to advertise art and see a return on that and looking at numbers and understanding copywriting? So that was my like growing up, my grad school for marketing, I would say. I was working in an advertising agency. And then I walked into my boss's office one day and said, I have to quit because I don't want to grow up to be you. It was okay. We were good friends at that point, and then I got a show, and then it was like, oh, great. I'm doing acting now. This is what's happening. And it was I don't want to say it was effortless. Like there was no effort, but it wasn't painful. I'll say that.
And what brought you to Los Angeles?
So I believe when we are happy, it begets risk. We feel safe. We feel ready to take a little risk in our life. And I had a very serious relationship. I was making my living as an actor at that time. I didn't have any other job. And I was like, I feel like I need a new horizon, a new challenge for myself. I want to, and I had this voice that said, if you never try LA, you're going to be mad at yourself. Like this kind of like legacy kind of voice. Right. I had to quiet that voice. The other voice that I had was, it's never going to be a good time to move, which I think is the best advice anyone can. There's never going to be golden gates opening saying, now is the time you should move. It's never going to feel that way. So I was like, great, I'm going to come to LA. And I came to LA and very quickly booked some TV and was lucky in that way. And very quickly realized, oh, I like coaching better. And it came really easy to me, surprisingly. There was a little bit of a moment when I was like, wait, what? Like it spun my head around. I got whiplash for a second. Because in New York, while I was working and making my living as an actor, I was always quietly coaching actors on the side, on the business side of things. Not acting, but on the business side, because I just had some kind of acumen to help people get agents, help people get more auditions. So they were coming to me. I would be backstage with the other actors in the shows that I was in, and they'd be telling me they're having a hard time with their agent or they couldn't get auditions. I was like, come over here, come sit next to mama. I'm going to show you what to do. And then they'd go out and they'd get auditions or they'd get new representation. So when I came to LA, I was like, okay, well, there's not an audition every single hour of the day. What am I going to do with the rest of my day? Because that's just who I am. I started coaching actors again. And I remember I booked a role on The Newsroom, and I was there, and I was, Aaron Sorkin's there, and Alan Poole, the director's there, and we're having a little talk before we go. And I was like, this is cool. This is cool. And I also had to cancel on like 4 clients to be there that day. And I just really remember feeling like, this is cool. This is cool. It's not as fun as coaching, but this is cool. I'm having a good time. And I was like, okay. And like, I had to really check with myself, like, is it because the role isn't big? Like if you were a series regular, would you feel differently right now? I had to really do that little math with myself, and had a dear friend who said to me, what if you quit acting? And I was like, nope, never. What are you talking about? That's my whole identity. She goes, okay, well, what if you give it like 2 weeks? Will you quit acting for 2 weeks and see what happens? And so then I slowly tried on the idea of, what if I didn't put energy into my acting career for a few weeks? And 2 weeks became 2 months, became 2 years, became getting full life coach training, became getting my reverendship training, became getting tons of clients and working with them and seeing them excel, and realizing all that acting stuff isn't something I've thrown away, but all that acting stuff is what's prepared me to be able to hold the space to be with someone who's putting themselves out there over and over again. And which is why it's also led to working with writers and directors and producers and anyone who is in a creative pursuit, because it is generating with little validation and generating with little validation. And because we happen to be on this planet in a capitalist society that values money, it also is dealing with the money piece of all of that. And so I found this was a place where I excelled, and that my clients were doing really well, and it was giving me deep, deep satisfaction. And just like an artist, though, just like any artist who's listening, I'm always thinking about the next thing. That is the plight of the ambitious, which I want to make sure ambitious is a good word. The ambitious artist is thinking about the next thing, right? And so I'm always thinking about, when is my next impact going to be? What's the next thing I'm going to do next, right? And so I think that doesn't go away, but our relationship with that can shift to making it, rather than starvation, be more about, what do I want to be on the table when I set the table next time? Like, what do I want to, what's the next thing going to be? So I think that part of me still exists here. So even as I'm talking about, and then it was just so easy, and now I'm a successful coach, like I'm already thinking about the next thing and what do I want to make next, and it's not created yet, and what are we doing next? Like, so that part doesn't go away. I just want to acknowledge that, so I don't sound like some kind of unicorn where everything just works out perfectly.
I love it. I want to ask one more question before we get into what you do. We had started with, you didn't know you were gay in school.
Yeah.
When did the realization come to you? Because I think sometimes, we are dormant in certain things, and then
Yeah.
one day we
Yeah.
get that aha moment.
Yes. Well, I'll say, I mean, I think that I wouldn't say that I didn't know. I would say that I wouldn't admit it. So it's kind of like like you said,
Oh.
dorm, like I wouldn't allow myself, because if I admitted it to myself, I had to deal with it on the campus of school. And so then my third day of college, I called my mom, and I'd already told her I was kind of thinking about it. And she goes, I knew this was going to happen. Like, it was all very easy. That part became very easy. It was also, when you go to college, or when you are 14 years old, 16 years old, you're having these, like, I think you have different adolescences of your life. I had a new adolescence at 18 years old, because now the part where, boys and girls are making out in high school, I was not having that. There was no sexuality there. There was some version of sexuality in college. I'm very sex positive over here, but I'm not saying I was a whore, but I'm just saying, like, I suddenly figured out, like, oh, there are other gay people in the world. There are other gay people in the world. And, like, oh, do I really like this boy? Or what? Like, I was like very, like, it was very safe. I grew
You were
up in Northwestern. Is a
discovering.
very, yeah, discovering. Yeah. And Northwestern's a
Yeah.
very diverse population there. So I was able to be with other people coming from all different backgrounds. Like, oh my God, there's Jewish people in the world. Oh my God, there's Latin people in the world. Like this, I was in a white town. And so to see, like, oh, there are Jewish, there are Latin, there are different types of people in the world. Oh, my difference is also part of that. Like, understanding that I was not same was new for me to discover as well.
Well, thank you for discovering yourself. Thank you. I want to get into what it is that you do. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with Brian, I want you to know that he is the representation whisperer. He helps actors and other creatives get representation, among other things. But that's one of the things that he does. So, something that struck me about you when I was listening to you, and you were talking about, when you talk to actors, you want to help them really be who they want to be in the business. I think that is crucial, because we have a lot of actors that come into the business, whether it's New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, wherever. They want to act, but they have no clue as to who they want to be. They're just chasing a job. Oh, I got to get this job. Oh, I got to get this rep. But they don't take time to discover who they want to be as an artist.
And I think, a lot of that comes from, first of all, it comes from lack of knowledge or education about how the business works, which I think is just natural. I got to go out there and get an agent because that's what I've heard you got to do, right? And there are not a lot of resources given, especially if you went from a college background, or you just said, I want to be an actor one day. Like, if you're not seeking out verifiable sources, it's very easy just to hear the rumor mill of what you're supposed to do. That's one piece of it. And the other piece of it, I think, is, who am I to think I'm allowed to say what I want? Right? Who am I allowed to say? I just got to get the jobs that'll come to me. And I want to there's like two sides to that coin. There is a belief that I think is not unhelpful, that sometimes we got to pay our dues and get on a set once so we understand how a set works. And maybe it wasn't the perfect role for us, but oh, I have to stand over here. Like, each one of the, if you can imagine, the way I think about it is, every single piece of this is a learning experience. So if the role is not making you do something that's against your values, or the story isn't, and you are going to enjoy being on that set and learn something from it, there's no reason why you wouldn't want to say yes. Yes, there are other reasons why, like how much money it pays and your agent wants you to do that. You might have those more calculated kind of conversations. But if we can create the space where I'm an eternal student, I want to learn things. That's great. And then we add to that conversation as we move into our career. Oh, I am now ready to maybe say no to that size of a role, because if I say yes to that role, I'm actually making myself not available for the roles that I should be booking right now. So there's taking up of that kind of a space, right? So that's kind of one side of the coin, is I believe in um, using the hierarchy, the false hierarchy here, to learn something. Use it as your grad school, to like use it. And the other is to truly believe where you're going, to have an idea of where you're going. And I think, one of the tools that I use with actors when they're meeting with representation, when you're meeting with an agent, I would say the number one thing that gets an agent to fall in love with you, or a manager, I found time and time again, I've helped over 724 actors and find managers and agents. So just to be clear, I think I have a little bit of experience here, is when an actor is non-delusional. When an actor understands where they stand in the business and what might be next for them. So I always think about this as this is not some kind of like get it right science, everybody, but it is imagining if you had a crystal ball and you believe in a positively conspiring universe that only wants the best, great, good things for you. If you can get yourself in that mindset, you're that kind of a psychic where you're looking in your crystal ball, but you're not erasing the history of where you've come from, who you are, what you look like, the experiences you've had so far. So you're looking through this crystal ball with an incredible education of your life experience. It's not just, and now I fabricate, right? You've got 64 Crayola crayons of the life experience and training and shows you've already done and roles you liked and didn't like and parts you liked playing and parts you didn't like playing, that you bring into the conversation with that crystal ball. And then you look through that crystal ball. This is sounding very esoteric, but stay with me at this metaphor, people. And you go, what is likely to be what this career looks like? And this to me is when you're like, well, I am a 5'3" tiny petite woman. I'm probably not going to play the 400-pound race car driver. Great. You're probably not, right? There's a difference between what you look like and what that is. And yes, we all know there's prosthetics and people wear fat pads and people could wear waist cinchers and people could dye their hair. But I think there's like, just to get you grounded enough to be able to imagine what could be next for you. And one of the things I think is a caveat I want to add to this exercise is let's not imagine the small future. Imagine the big future. So unless a co-star is the pinnacle of everything you want to book in your career, I do not want to hear, I can't wait to play the secretary on ba 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 ba. I want to hear, I want a role, I'm in for 3 seasons, or I want this role on Broadway where I get to and I imagine that the next thing for me is this, that you really are imagining that big scope, that field for yourself. Because then once you have that vision, you can kind of reverse engineer. Oh, well, I probably need to get this in my book for when I audition for musical theater. And I probably need to take some classes with this person because those people from that studio, I see that they book a lot. And I know that I'm not doing as well in comedy for TV as I want to be. So you get to kind of reverse engineer. What are the missing plot points in this journey to this vision that you saw, right? And then the other part of it all is, we all know sometimes a magic wand just gets waved and you suddenly have a job. You suddenly get cast in the role. We have friends who get it. Our friends seem to get that happen to them all the time, don't they? Right? So what we can't do is allow the magic wand moment to decide who we should be day to day. When I think the magic wand, like when you get that opportunity gets dropped in your lap, where it feels from the outside that this got dropped in their lap, we have to engineer a career as an artist, which is I'm studying my craft. I believe in my craft. I'm having a hard time with this part in my craft. For some reason, my teacher keeps saying I'm not in my voice. I got to go find a voice teacher or something. There's something I'm not doing in this. It's not working. Whenever I get in an argument in class, my voice goes up really high. That is someone who, like Van Gogh, is going, I want to understand the color yellow. That is the kind of artist we have to be. And suddenly, this conversation you and I are having right now about vision and book a job, don't book a job, it doesn't matter because you are so invested in your art that the jobs feel like glorious, awesome, incredible mistakes that you get to say yes to that just happen out of the sky, right? I'm not saying that we don't have lulls in our career. It's a roller coaster. You shouldn't do things in the business, but I just really want to make sure the number one thing that I say to an actor when they come to me and they're saying they're feeling out of sorts or the business isn't working or any of that mishigas, the first thing I say is, when's the last time you acted? Because as A Course in Miracles would say, be determined each day not to leave your function unfulfilled. I will say it again. Be determined each day not to leave your function unfulfilled. If you believe your function is to be an actor, which that's all you need, is the belief that that's the truth. You don't have to do anything more than that. Then that means every day you are not acting, you are distanced from the truth of who you are. And so your brain is, of course, going little wacky bananas inside, because the truth of who you are is most themselves when they are acting. And that's when wisdom comes to you, when you are acting and when you are getting answers from the universe, because you are in yourself. That's where I would say the eternal and the planetary align, right? So when you are acting, you're going to get the downloads you need to know what is next. So by the way, I am not an acting teacher. So I just told you, go seek out an acting teacher, not me, if you're feeling out of sorts. I'm not trying to put myself out of business here, but I want to hear, this is what I think is the foundational piece to all of this. That was a long answer to probably a short question
No,
there,
that was a
Lydia.
fantastic answer. You talked about your calling. I think it is important not just to dream big, but dream big knowing what your calling is. It is so important. The Bible says you were created for a time such as this. There's another scripture that said, I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. So God doesn't make accidents. He doesn't make cubic zirconium. He makes diamonds. And as a diamond, your job is to clean yourself off, because sometimes you come, you're shiny. You, Brian, are a shiny mofo. You just shine, brother. You got that shine. You were talking about people knowing who they want to be. And you may not be who you want today, but that doesn't mean you're not going to be who you want a year from now. But you got to put in the work. You got to do the work. You got to come. You got to have the vision. Say, this is where I want to go, and understand that acting is a career. It's not just job, but it's a career. And if you lay your foundation properly, and know that, and understand that you are the architect of your life, then all of that stuff is going to line up for you, because you're doing the work. You're taking care of it. My prayer every day is, Lord, put me in the right place at the right time with the right people for the right reason, so I can fulfill my destiny. And something you mentioned, and you can only do it because of your background, is teaching people right mindset. Because what you're teaching, if you're not in the right mindset, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. I love the webinar that you have called Make Agents Want You, and all of you can go there. It's free. MakeAgentsWantYou.com, which is the prequel to Brian's course, Agent Goals. So, with that said, I now want to go into how, what it is that you teach, because I think it's important. We give the power away to everybody, and what you talk about is you empower people to take back their power. I love,
Yeah.
I'm an evangelist for that. You got to be the thermostat. You can't be the thermometer. You set the
Yeah.
room. I did,
Yeah.
I'm an actor who's done stand-up comedy. I did stand-up comedy for 14 years. I've produced, I've done all this stuff. And one of the things I learned, and I only learned it through stand-up, and that was, when you get on stage, you tell the audience where they're going. They don't tell you where you're going. You have to be the guide to take them wherever. And I think sometimes as actors, we're so nervous. Instead of going, wait a minute, I'm here to be of service. And if I'm here to be of service, I've got to be grounded. I have to bring you my best, because I'm
Yes.
serving you. So
Yes.
tell us about the Agent Goals course that you
Sure.
offer.
Agent Goals is the course where I've had 724 actors have found representation. It's not a course you just go off and do on your own. I'm with you live calls. We have 8 calls together as a group, so that I'm helping you through this every step of the way. Because what I know is, and this is why the program was invented and why it works, all your stuff comes up when you start thinking about managers and agents. All of us have had mommies and daddies. If we're lucky, we had two, or we had adoptive mommies or daddies or whatever. And we bring all of our parental baggage to the manager agent looking for approval and validation and tell me what to do, or teacher approval, validation, what to do. And that is not their job. And it is nothing wrong with you that you might show up with that. There's nothing wrong with you. In fact, thank goodness you have that kind of energy as a human being, that's what you're putting out there. But what we have to be mindful of is we're kind of trying to get water from a stone. And and that doesn't mean you might not have a manager agent who doesn't provide those things. But the problem is we're showing up with our baggage before we're showing up with what we have to offer. And there's two sides to this. One is you are equals. They do not have status above you. It just happens to be that the way that the business works, because agents can't work with every single actor in the entire world because they just don't have the time for that they have to be able to choose who they work with. Great. Perfect. Then that means our job is to give them everything they need to decide if they want to order you off the menu. The problem is most actors are deciding before they've set foot in the restaurant, they don't want me yet. I'm not done cooking. And that is a lie. And that is a lie 724 times. So whoever's telling you, you have to have this many credits, you have to have this kind of headshot, you have to have this much on your resume, you have to study with this person, you have to get this kind of reel. That is all a big fat lie in Michigas, and thank that person for their advice and burn it. And I know what I'm saying is radical to what most people have been told, but I've seen it work 724 times, or I wouldn't believe it myself, right? And so the belief I have, I like to use them. I've been using a restaurant metaphor lately because I think it makes sense, which is, let's see if I get there, which is I need to let the managers and agents of the world decide that they're going to choose me, and I need to give them the dignity. Can we please give them the dignity of saying yes or no? What we're already doing is saying that they've already said no until you've achieved something or done something, right? And so what I believe is we need to give them what they need to order you off the menu, like I said. But most often what happens is an actor is writing an email or reaching out in some way that says, here's what it looks like. I did this job. Here's what I booked. Here's where I went to school. Look how awesome I am, which is kind of like saying, here's a picture of what's for dinner. I'm not going to tell you what's inside of it. So I might order you because of what it looks like. But if I had the information of the ingredients in this, I'd be able to tell you, no, you know what? I don't like raw tomatoes, but I do love, truffle, right? So the ingredients that make up who you are as an actor are not only your achievements. I'm going to say that again because you didn't listen. The ingredients that make you up as an incredible, awesome, attractive actor are not just your bookings and your accomplishments. You are so much more, particularly because you and I both know you've auditioned 25 times for every job you've actually booked, or 50 or 100 times. And in each of those auditions, maybe you got a callback, or you got great feedback, or you went to a workshop where someone said something nice to you, or you did a play where it was at a rinky-dink theater that no one ever would know, but the role was so substantial it would be worth talking about. Most actors don't know how to talk about that part because it doesn't feel sexy to them anymore. It doesn't feel exciting to them anymore. And every actor I know suffers from recency disease, which is if it was 5 years ago, it was too old. If it was 2 years ago, it was too old. If it was 3 months ago, it was too old. What's my most recent thing that I can talk about? I want to bring to the conversation that time does not exist. That may be hard to capture right now, but who you are as an actor has existed before any of those bookings, any of those almosts. And by showing us, not telling us, by showing us how you've continued to show up when you had a callback, or you got the booking, but you had to turn it down, or you played that incredible role and who cares that it was in your friend's web series, right? Those are the things that show me who you are as an actor. And then the managers and agents of the world, who are not a monolith, they're all individual, incredible human beings on the other side of this. Each one of them who can change their mind on the drop of a hat because they're human beings just like you and me, then get to discover who you are, and they get to go, I understand this person. I can't work with them. Or I understand this person. I know how I would work with them. And my belief around this is when you reach out, when you put yourself out there, we are going to learn something. We're going to learn we need to pitch you a little bit differently. Or one more thing I want to bring to this conversation is it is none of your business how quickly someone responds to your emails. So many an actor will get it up to write that perfect email and send that one email out to managers and agents, and no one responded, or some dipshit agency you don't care about responded, and you're like, I don't even want to go work with them. And then you go back into your cave for another 9, 6 months, 3 years, and then you reach out again with one email. I don't know about you, but when I open my email every day, I go delete, 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 delete. I find the ones I delete first, and then I read the ones I want to read. We all relate to our inbox this way. How dare you decide that Johnny Stugatz, random agent you've never met in your entire life, who didn't even open your email, deleted it because he didn't like you? You've got no business. So inside of the program, there's something called the Anne Lamott Graceful Follow-Up Formula. Anne Lamott's one of my favorite writers. And so it's all about, you have to follow up, and following up in a way that doesn't feel icky or sticky or uncomfortable to you, because you've got steps to take. Because part of what I know happens is the emotions are going to come up, the resistance is going to come up. Just keep taking the steps. And the way that I talk about that so that we can have some faith into that is, look, you don't have to believe every step of the way that there's going to be a chocolate cake at the end of this. But if you follow the recipe, there will be a chocolate cake. So just put half a cup of sugar in when I tell you to. You don't have to believe what that sugar is about. Just take the step anyway. And sometimes that blind faith brings something to the actor that is incredibly empowering. When I got an email from someone yesterday, I think she got 7 or 8 meetings, and she said, it was so hard. I loved all of them. But then I used the system to figure out which one I wanted to work with, and da, 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 da. And she said, and I couldn't believe I got an email. The second I sent my first email, I got an email within an hour. The reason why I believe it works, wait, before everyone is listening, don't you dare make that person special, because she is no more special than you. She's special and you're special. There's nothing special about her. Let me just say it that way instead. Okay?
Why? No, I'm going to stop you, because what makes her special is that she was willing to take the risk.
Yes, so, totally.
No, yeah. we gotta separate the fools from those who are doing the work. Because we can talk, nobody's special, everybody is equal. No, everybody's not equal. There are so many actors who come into Los Angeles every week to pursue their career, and so many actors who leave because they didn't get a return phone call, they didn't get an email answered. And the truth is, no one is giving you anything. You got to take it. And you've got to be centered in yourself to say, I believe in me. I am going to succeed. Whether you take me on or not, the right person will take me.
Yeah, Lydia, what you just said is so important. I want everyone to hear something Lydia said in there, which is, I am enough as I am right now. And there is a manager out there, or an agent, or both right now, who are happy with exactly everything I've accomplished right now. And what I think some actors think is, yeah, but then I ended up with some not great agent or manager. You're wrong, because you'll end up with the manager or agent who's right for you where you are right now in your career. And so what we have to believe is, I quit chasing something other than reaching out to managers and agents. You don't need to get anything else going on. You just need to reach out so that they can discover and meet you. I hate the word discover, because sometimes it sounds like you're walking down the street and they discover you. You put yourself in the path of that discovery by reaching out in this way, while you are very clear. Now, there's certain pieces of this you got to have on track, right? You can't be like, hey, I'm here, I'm an actor. Like we said, you got to be able to talk about your almost and the traction you've had. You probably need a good handle on like the kind of roles you'll book, because I'm an agent. I like to think, this is how I like to think of any agent who's reading your email. They're standing at Starbucks. They have a 5-year-old holding their hand who's screaming, and they're reading your email. So how are you writing an email? It's going to capture their imagination and their attention well enough that they can say, yeah, I'm going to ask them for a meeting. So I like to just think like, that's probably not the truth, but that's another angle. Yeah. In the course, we teach you how to write the email so it will capture their imagination.
I think there's need to know it's a business. How are you going to make them money? If they're committing to taking you on and they're going to pitch you 25, 30 times and get no for an answer, what is it that you're bringing to them that they can hold on their faith? Because they too have faith that you're going to book something. That agent has to have faith that they took you on because they know what you sell, and they know it's just a matter of time. Not only are you going to get this job, and this job, but they're going to build a career for you, in that you guys are coming to work together. And I think a lot of times actors are so self-involved and so immature, for lack of a better word, that they don't see it's a business, it's a partnership. You talk about treating it like Tinder dating, and
Yes, totally.
and I think it's more like a, hey, we're going to be engaged and we're looking to get married, and how will we work? What can I bring to you? What do you bring to me? How do we, because 90% of the actors that I've known over my 40 years in this business are all about what can the agent do for me, but it's
Yeah.
never how can we work together. How can I bring my best? What is it that I sell? Because as an actor, I need to know what I sell before I go looking for
Mm-hmm.
representation. We
Totally.
we can't
Yes.
expect the agent or manager to know, I know exactly what you sell, Brian. I know exactly how you, they don't know. And they'll send you up for the wrong things. And then you'll get pissed off because you go, they keep setting me up for, 70-year-old men. I'm not 70-year-old, but did you show up? Did you say to them, this is what I sell? This is my special sauce. If you send me for that, I'm not going to book it. So I'm going to tell you right now,
Mm,
I'm not going to book it.
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
my sweet spot. How can we work together? What do you need from me in order to for us to make money? Because at the end of the day, it's all about
Yes.
are you helping them keep their lights on? So I just
Right.
wanted to throw that in there.
Well,
I'm
Lydia,
sorry.
one of the things I just had a realization of one of the things you just said that I think I'm going to say this for myself as well as everyone listening, which is the reason that I believe Agent Goals works isn't because these actors have anything special going on with them besides that they're putting themselves out. But the thing that they do have, which is what the program teaches, which is what you just said, the actor has an innate knowingness of themselves and where they fit in the business without delusion. And that is the sexiest thing that an actor can give to a manager or agent. Because not only is it like, I can book this and I can book that, and that, it's also, I only have a co-star on my resume right now, and I know there's some casting offices that have never seen me yet. If I was going to tell you the 3 offices that I should meet first, because I really think they work on shows that would be good for me, it's Johnny Stugotz and Vinny Boombats and Anna Butt Cheese, right? Like I can come up with the names right away because I know where I fit in the landscape of the business. That is what Agent Goals, I think, teaches, and that is why the agents and managers say yes, as they go, great, this is not going to be an actor who is needy, who's helpless, who doesn't know what's going on. I don't have to lead the horse to water here. They know that there's going to be some work ahead of us. Maybe we're going to have to do. This applies just as much to the actor. I'm thinking about my actress who was on Grey's Anatomy for a bunch of seasons. She went through this process kicking and screaming. She did not want to do this. She'd been on the show for a few seasons. Why should she have to do something like this? The whole thing, right? Kicking and screaming. She got like 36, I think, meetings at the end of this process. Great, fabulous for her. What was so special for her experience was, oh, wow, I've gone through this change. I've talked about it in my email. And now I get to be that actor that I've described. Like I went through an experience internally that I now get to be that actor who's going to show up in that way for these managers and agents. So she had a hard time making the decision of who she wanted to sign with, of course, because there's a lot of offers, but just that ability to think of the way I like to think of it is I want the actors who go through this to be so full of themselves in the best way possible that nothing can harm them. They don't get a scratch when an agent says no, because I just want everybody to know any Joe Blow off the street can get an agent and say they're an agent or a manager, and we suddenly are going to take their opinion stronger than anybody else we know. You've never met that person. They're a stranger. So even when you take meetings and an agent says, well, I'd really need you to get a new reel and blah, 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 I was going, great. I'll put that advice in my back pocket because maybe there's an agent out here who doesn't care and loves my reel. So we just have to be very discerning with what we let permeate our artistic creative soul here when people are giving advice, right? And I would always just say when an actor comes to me and goes, the agent told me I needed da 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 da, and I always go, great. Has that agent helped 724 actors find agents? No. Okay, great. Could we just like temper that? It's like critical theory, right? Like, let me just run that through critical theory here. Like, do I need to trust that or not? And I'm not saying we can't take that advice as a thought for us to consider, but let us not become fascinated by a non-expert kind of thought as we go through this. And that I think is, I want you to be an expert on yourself. That is my goal, that you are an expert on yourself. So when the agent says something to you, you can go, you can leave that meeting and go, they were wrong. They don't understand what I'm going to book next. Like that, you can be like, that was great. They're not my person. Because then they talked about the roles I'm going to book next. It was nowhere near what I'm going to book next. That's what I think is important.
Something you talk about is for the actor to be vulnerable, and I thought this was gold that you share with actors, and that is to be vulnerable and let them know I can't go where I need to go without you. Not to be so uh, um, self-contained, like I'm the shit and I'm doing, but that I need you to help me because there are things I can't do by myself.
Yeah.
And that's why I want this partnership.
Yeah, what you just said, Lydia, is one of the. I'm sorry I didn't start there because I think it's a huge mistake. So what a lot of actors will do is say, "Look how awesome my career is! Like I'm getting these auditions, I'm booking these jobs, everything's going great over here. Don't you want to get aboard this moving train while you still can?" Like they'll position themselves like their career is just like you said, the shit. Be like, and then the agent gets to go. Looks like things are going great. You don't need me. You've suddenly taken away the job for this person. I don't get to feel any like I'm not going to have any purpose in your career because things are going. And if you, and the other part that I go is this actor is delusional because if they think those things is what equals a great career and that's all that they want, then they probably are not a fit for me because I got much bigger dreams for them.
Not only that, the agent is going to feel like you're not going to listen to me because you know everything.
Yep.
There's so much to your course. It is so chock full, and I haven't taken the course yet, but I'm gonna take that course. But I'm so excited that you are here in the world helping actors. I just want to say that because it's so vital. It's so vital for actors to have the balance. You
Yeah.
got to be confident, not delusional. You got to be strong, but you got to be vulnerable. You got to know your business, but you got to be well crafted. I mean, we have to balance so much. And
Yeah.
it's like acting classes. You only want to take an acting class when you really believe that acting teacher speaks your language, because you got to
Mhm.
be vulnerable with that acting teacher, and you don't want somebody who's going to be tyrannical and be abusive to you. Neither do you want an
Yeah.
agent, because they're the agent of so and so who's going to take you on and treat you like crap. You want everything to align so that you have the best life possible, right? You
Yeah.
want it
Yeah.
all to be delicious. Some days will be better than others, but you want to find that joy. Going back to that Course in Miracles, you're going to get the lesson. So either you
Yeah.
get it in a joyful way or in a painful way.
I just want to make sure anyone who's listening, if you're getting excited about what we're saying, and Lydia shared this earlier, and I just want to make sure you know, the introduction where you're going to get a ton of knowledge is where she said, makeagentswantyou.com, and that's totally free. So I know we're kind of mixing the course and the free class. I just want to make sure everyone knows that I put that free resource out there intentionally to break through the myths and the mishigas that comes up when it comes to agent search. So makeagentswantyou.com is free and you can watch it on demand like Netflix.
And there are great pearls. He gives such great wisdom with that. He gives you some free stuff, so it's not like he's giving you a lot of good solid stuff. Another piece of gold that you delivered that I love, that it's not about your readiness but about your willingness. Can you unpack that for me?
Amen. A Course in Miracles says that a miracle is a shift in perspective. I do not need you to be ready to make this work. I do not need you to be ready to reach out to managers and agents. I do need you to be willing to imagine it'll help in a different way than you think, a different way than it happened for your best friend, a willingness to follow the steps. You do not have to be, I think that readiness is a myth. I think that even the most incredible Olympian in the world who is prepared and practiced and trained their butt off, and they go to the Olympics and they get their foot in those little things on the ground when they're about to run or whatever those things are called, I think there is definitely a moment of no matter how ready they are. And that is, I am willing to believe I can do this. I'm willing to believe that something will come from this. Even if the willingness is tiny, I'm willing to believe I'll learn something from this. I might not get an agent. I'll learn something from this. You might end up getting an agent, by the way, but like that you will, so willingness to shift from I need to look, feel, be a certain way, especially that feel one, That feel one is tricky. I need to feel a certain way before I can do this. I say that because I think a lot of, all creative people, I think, have been seduced by, I want to do it when I'm inspired. And
It's
Madeline
an
L'Engle, the
enemy.
author.
That
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
feeling
yeah.
is an enemy
Yes,
to the actor
totally.
and to the creative. Yeah,
Totally. It
it's
doesn't
a
mean you have to like
feeling.
never. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Doesn't never help you. But Madeline L'Engle, the author of A Wrinkle in Time, she said inspiration strikes while you're working. So if we're waiting to be inspired, I'll see you in 10 years. Be willing to do the work.
So people go to makeagentswantyou.com. It's fantastic. And the course is called Agent Goals. And it's not a one-off, it's a 4-month program, and you got to be committed to do the steps. It's 4 months. It's
Right, just so we're all clear, because it makes it sound like it's going to take you 4 months to get an agent. It really, people have done it in 45 days. I give you the 4 months so that I'm alongside you through the entire process and so that you can move with the waves of resistance that might come up for you. I just don't want everyone to think it's going to take you 4 months to get an agent, because that would be like, I don't want to take 4 months. I understand that. But you might also get engaged to in the middle of this process. You might suddenly see a bunch of auditions come in because you're putting yourself out there in a new way, and it slows you down in the process. You might have to go on vacation. It might be your birthday, right? There could be a lot of things that could. So that's why I give the 4 months is like an indulgent amount of time in case you need that support.
I love that you give them process to breathe. It's not, a 2-day seminar and now you're on your own, that you really give them the space to work on their stuff.
I'm too controlling to say, go do this on. No, I need to see you every other Friday morning and see where you're at with the stuff and hold you accountable and see what you got done and tell you that's not right and tell you, let me look at your head. Like, I'm too controlling to let you do that. I want to let you have a great experience in here, but Papa gets nervous for you too. I want to take care of you. So those calls are for me to take care of you as well. And I think actors need an outside eye for their feedback, right? So that's that piece of
and
it as well.
accountability is so important, because we're slippery. Actors are slippery. Accountability is so major. So the courses that you have, you got the master class, makeagentswantyou.com. Then you have the agent goals. Now tell me about Audition Magnet. I saw that on your website.
Just so no one gets too far down the black hole here, Audition Magnet, we only enroll once a year, if that. So Audition Magnet, so just so that you know, it's not an ongoing agent goals. You can enroll at any time. Audition Magnet usually once a year. Audition Magnet is devoted to your casting profiles, because your casting profiles is the number one track that we run all of your auditions on. And so that is about making them all look good on all the different casting sites that we use. And that we open the enrollment for that usually once a year.
So agent goals is not just for new actors, but you had mentioned that you had an actress from Grey's Anatomy who was looking for representation. So am I okay in saying it is also for veteran actors?
My actors who are in the 50 plus age range see better success than anyone else, and everyone sees success. So just so we're clear, I want to make sure the actors who are listening, who may think of themselves in the third act, or they took a break, or if you took a break from acting, no matter what age you are, or it's been a decade, or you feel like you're getting up there in the age, right? I need you to hear me right now. Agents and managers want you. That is a story that is keeping you small. It doesn't mean that I'm trying to pretend that the business is putting you on screen as much as you should be. I am not pretending there's representation. There's not ageism in this business. But what I'm telling you from the numbers, from the data on my end, actors in that category get reps and get multiple meetings all the time. So the story that you might have around getting representation, at least put that on the burn pile. You and I can still be mad at the system for not putting more people on screen that look like you or sound like you or are your age or whatever. But we need to know their agents and managers, they are not playing that part. They're not believing into that right now. They are saying yes to actors in that space in their career. And what, to me, I'll just say is really exciting when you are, let's say, in that, let's call that the upper age bracket right now, for this conversation, right? You have such juicy stuff you've done in your career that we get to put in position in a way where a manager or agent can understand it and can get excited about it and can believe in the legacy you've already started to leave or the mark you've already started to make. And guess what? The mofos who are not going to recognize that, thank God they'll say no to you, because you don't want to be with some manager agent who doesn't respect what you have done in this business so far. And the ones who do want to respect that will rise to the top and will say, will you take a meeting with me? By presenting yourself in this way, you let the agents who are not meant for you to self-select themselves out of the process, and the ones that are meant for you to redeem themselves, to reveal themselves, I should say. And that is what we have to believe into, is because we're going to cut such a sharp shape as to who you are, be so clear on who you are and what you have to bring to the table, that the ones who aren't meant for you will go away, and the ones who are meant for you will ask for a meeting. That is what I want for those people to hear.
Agent goals is also for hyphenated people. Yes.
Yeah. So writers.
So
yeah.
it
So
doesn't matter if you're just an actor, but if you're an actor, producer, writer, the course works just as well for you.
The one thing I'll just add to that is, if you're a writer who just wants writing representation, you should reach out to me separately. But if you're an actor who also writes, what I want to do is I want to get you with an agent who cares. I want to get you with a manager who is going to cover you for writing. That's the energy we want to bring to that. But if you were just a writer, I wouldn't say do agent goals. Let's talk separately. But if you're a writer, an actor who does something else, 100% we want to do that.
What is the legacy you want to leave?
I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I'm engaged. Everyone should know that. We've been engaged for 2 years. We're not as worried about getting married as we are buying a house. And if you haven't noticed, it's all over the news. Not a good time to buy a house. So who knows if we'll ever get to buy a house, which means who knows if we're going to get married. So we're also thinking about having kids. Who knows? So here's what I'll say. The legacy that I want to leave, I get little glimpses of it when someone will say to me, an actor will say, and Brian, I had you in my voice when fill in the blank. When some tricky situation came up, when they were making a decision about who to work with as an agent or manager, when they were on set, when they were feeling themselves, or when they were in a dark moment, that I was able to show up in their ear or in a new thought form to shift their thinking just a little bit out of whatever that is, or to feel more deeply into that moment. If it's one of the joyous moments, that I'm in their ear, a little worm in their ear saying, you can do this differently or try it a different way, so that they feel empowered. And I know that, to me, that is what it means to change a life, to shift moments like that. To me, that's all that we have. So I think that's the legacy I want to leave. So that means to me, more and more people, which is why I have a podcast, and why I want to make that, I want more and more people to feel that great power of being in their purpose.
And your podcast, which is fantastic, is called Brian Breaks Character. Everybody should go to Apple or Spotify and look it up. And they can find you on Instagram at
Brian Says That.
If you enjoyed this episode that I did with Brian, you're going to love this upcoming episode I did with an agent that will help you understand how to have right relationships with your agents and managers.